Final community, welcome back. B is for Bob Dylan. Yeah, Blonde on Blonde, 1966, Columbia. Double album, one of the first double albums. All Bob Dylan penned, no covers on this one. He hasn't had covers on the last couple of albums. This was his 7th album. This is the inside. All black and white, pretty classy. And the full gatefold. The songs, Rainy Day Women, numbers 12 and 35, which was also a single from the album. Pledging My Time, Visions of Johanna, One of Us Must Know. I Want You, also a single. Memphis Blues Again, my favorite Bob Dylan song. One of the reasons I wanted to do this. Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat, which always makes me think of Jackie Kennedy. Just Like a Woman, an incredible ballad covered by everybody. Richie Havens, Van Morrison, quite a few other people. Most Likely You Go Your Way and I'll Go Mine, a song he used to open up the Band and the Dylan tour. Temporary Like Achilles, Absolutely Sweet Marie, Fourth Time Around, obviously Five Believers, and Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, written for his wife, Sarah Lowndes, who he had just married. Now, recorded in Columbia Recording Studios, Nashville, Tennessee. They started the album in New York with Al Kooper and Robbie Robertson, who, as he was called at that point, and it wasn't really going anywhere. So Johnston, the producer, said, Bob Johnston said, why don't you go down to Nashville? And Dylan thought about it, said that would be a cool idea, even though Nashville was full of country music and kind of ideological, shall we say, different. So Dylan was one of the first people to marry country with rock. And the musicians are just outstanding. Wayne Moss, Charlie McCoy, Kenneth Buttrey on drums, Hargus Robbins, his nickname was Pig, who was a blind pianist, Joe South on guitar, Jerry Kennedy, Bill Akins, Henry Strzelicki on drums, Robbie Robertson on guitar, and he took Al Kooper. And interesting, Al Kooper's not mentioned in the gatefold here, but Al Kooper was there as well. Cool, show you the CBS I there, and it says a stereo, 360 sound. And this is the red pressing, red Columbia pressing, red label, orange, see that there. And both the albums were said part 1 and part 2. This is notable in that the second cut, as I mentioned, my favorite song, Memphis Blues, just says stuck inside a mobile with the, and then in the gatefold it says stuck inside a mobile with the, and it's called Memphis Blues Again in the gatefold, which I thought was pretty cool. Dylan, after this, went back to Woodstock. The motorcycle accident happened. He didn't put out another album. They did a greatest hits in '67, but in '68 he did John Wesley Harding, and before this he had done Highway 61. So this is pretty. Here's the other label for the other one. A double album. Formative, informative, brilliant. It was recorded about this time in 1966, between January and February and March. Dylan would work on the songs all night. The guys would be drinking beer and playing pool, and he'd call them into the studio at 4 a.m. to cut a lot of the songs. Rainy Day Women, of course, everybody wants to get stoned, had the drug references. Dylan had been experimenting with amphetamines, with LSD, with weed. He said it wasn't a drug song, but clearly it was, had that Salvation Army sound to it. I'm sporting my new Blonde on Blonde t-shirt. Thank you, Sandy, who bought it for me yesterday. Here's a couple of books I thought I would show. This is on the DK Visions, Portrait and Back Pages, Dylan. It's a collection of articles, and it has the stuff with a foreword by Bono. Has a thing about Blonde on Blonde. It's pretty cool. And then this is writings and drawings. It's got a picture of him from Pat Garrett and the Billy the Kid. Show you. Here's stuff. I opened Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. And it has some of the lyrics have drawings next to them, such as, here's Leopard Skin Pillbuck, here's Temporary Like Achilles. You can see that. And then I have Chronicles here. These are my Dylan books. This he wrote a couple years back. Very Dylan-esque. If you like Dylan, it's something good. And this is probably my favorite. This is a scrapbook of all kinds of stuff from 66, from 63 to 66. Actually, it's 56 to 66. So it goes right through the recording. And here's some pictures of him with the Strat around 66. It has really neat stuff. Here's some lyrics written in his hand. You can see all the drawings and stuff. This was called She's Your Lover Now, and this was one of the outtakes from Blonde on Blonde. You can see it was done on a typewriter. He used to stay at the Chelsea Hotel here in New York. I mean, Dylan spent a lot of time in New York, recording in New York, writing in New York. The Hawks, Albert Grossman. Anybody who's into Dylan knows the Hawks became the band, put out their first album in 1968 officially, called Music from Big Pink, which was a big influence on Clapton, among many, many, many other people. And the band also did the famous Basement tapes in 1967, which was a bootleg. It was around the time of the motorcycle accident, and they recorded just fantastic music, Tears of Rage and The Mighty Quinn and a whole bunch, Going to Acapulco, a whole bunch, Yazoo Street Scandal, Orange Juice Blues. I mean, everything pretty much, Tiny Montgomery, everything from the Basement tapes is just really delightful and is a great insight. You know how Quentin Tarantino has his universe? My son Dylan's always talking about movie universes, Green Apple cigarettes and Kahuna burgers. Well, Bob Dylan, the band, had their own universe, you know, much like the Grateful Dead has their own universe of all these kooky, crazy, carnival-like creatures and characters coming out of the woodwork. So some of my favorite songs from Blonde on Blonde, I would say, Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. I just love the structure of it, all the verses. Grandpa, he's in the alley with his pointed shoes and his bells, speaking to some French girls who says she knows me well. And wouldn't it be my luck to be discovered beneath a truck? It's from a later verse. Other songs, Visions of Johanna, just a beautiful song. I was thinking of the lyric, jewels hung from the head of the, jewels hung like a binocular. Oh, I'm messing it up now. Rainy Day Women I mentioned, of course, and Pledging My Time. Most Likely You Go Your Way, I'll Go Mine, The Rave Up, Absolutely Sweet Marie, and you know, just like a woman. I mean, I think the best songs are Rainy Day Women, Visions of Johanna, I Want You, that's on the best of, Memphis Blues I mentioned, Leopard Skin Pillbox Act, Just Like a Woman. Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. One, I've seen Dylan many, many times in concert, starting in '74 with the band. I saw him twice on that tour in New York and Philly. I saw a show with Bob Dylan and Phil Lesh and friends up in Massachusetts. And it was notable. They both encored with Not Fade Away, which was pretty cool. But Bob Dylan played Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. He played Memphis Blues again and Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. And did that really long song. I believe it's called Highlands from Time Out of Mind. It was very, very good show. Dylan headlined. Phil came on first. And yeah, seen him many times since then. Quick story, I took my son, who's named Dylan, after Bob Dylan, to the Beacon to see him last time he was in town, a couple tours ago, beginning of the pandemic, I guess, and maybe before the pandemic. And my son says, "Dad, I think that looks like Ringo over there." And we were in the back of the orchestra. We had good seats for the back of the orchestra. I'd won tickets from 104.3, our classic rock station in town. And I said, "Oh no, Dylan," as I'm prone to do sometimes at these shows. And lo and behold, well, who was in the front row? Joe Walsh and Ringo Starr watching Dylan. That was a good show. I'm trying to remember what he played. He played some song that I really like. It wasn't Memphis Blues, but I think he played It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry. I believe he did that, which is a great song. So that's Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde. D is for Dylan. We have C next. C is going to be a powerhouse psychedelic trio, somebody that was very influenced by both Bob Dylan and the band, and I think you'll like it. A former Yardbird. They went on to do Derek and the Dominoes. I wanted to mention quickly, I'm going over time here, that some of my D's were Derek and the Dominoes with Duane Allman and Eric Clapton, of course. Dire Straits, I probably would have done Making Movies rather than the first one. I love Making Movies. I love Communicate. I love the first 3 albums, but I probably done Making Movies. I just really like that album. I have it on vinyl. And there was another D, but those are the ones that I'm thinking of. So next week, C, and we'll see you then, Vinyl Community. Keep on rocking. Thanks for joining me. Doodah Dave. Keep on trucking.